Yes! Yes, 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 yes! That was a goal! Goal! Striker! Eat that! And another! Bing bang, stick it in. Thank you and good night.
Twat! That was liquid football!
Shit! Did you see that? He must have a foot like a traction engine. Goal!
Hello everybody, it's your old friends at Monday Madness and welcome back to the Liquid Football Podcast, the podcast that we are talking about anything that's happening in the world of football. And really there is only one place we can go, and that is with the return to the Premier League. Football is back for a certain percentage of football fans, and we're going to be talking about everything that's been happening in the off season between transfers and manager switches and everything else in between, literally as the key season was kicking off with Arsenal playing Coventry. So we're going to give you a full preview as the rest of the season gets underway today. On top of that, we're going to be giving our season predictions in the second half of the show. We have a spreadsheet of doom where we are getting all the crew here to give their predictions, along with what they think the journals and even AI thinks the season's going to end up between the league, between top goal scorers, top goalkeepers, and a few other little fun bits along the way as well. In between those two segments, we'll have our winning 11, which takes us back to 2018. Namely the Community Shield from that, and we'll also have a few kind of long-term CODs to put away to see if they'll be proven right at the end of the season. But that is our podcast for tonight, so we shall see you at the end of this jingle.
Goal!
Okay then, so we are back on the Liquid Football Podcast. We're back in the Premier League after a summer of both Irish football and World Cup football and overall just fucking shambles around the football world. But we've got a little bit of normality again by talking about the Premier League, which is the greatest show on earth if you were to believe all the hype. Of course, the real story, the real show, is the return of Richard Keys and David Gray, which is, or Andy Gray, I should say, not David Gray. That would be a very different show if David Gray brought a new album with Richard Keys. But I would still be willing to bet that I think the Premier League might get a little bit more traction than two old fossils trying to be cool. Steve Buscemi, unfortunately, not available for comment. But, Bert, I'll have you on for our official Premier League season preview as things have literally kicked off. As we are talking, Arsenal are already cruising to a comfortable lead at the moment. Perhaps, hopefully not saying it too early at this moment, but it's looking pretty comfortable for them as we speak. How was your summer now that we've gone through the World Cup, we've gone through all the other bells and whistles, and we're back to, I suppose, normality is the best way to describe it, if considering with Arsenal champions?
Okay, I'm going to start off by saying I hate the fact that the transfer window is still open because I don't consider it the start of the season until we have the squads finalised. So in that respect, I don't feel like I'm currently watching a match, but it doesn't feel like the match has started yet.
It feels like almost like a pre-season match in a way.
Yeah, that's literally how it feels. And then I suppose the way we're kind of playing at the minute, that would also give the feeling of a pre-season friendly, where it's typical Arsenal trying to walk it into the net. But how's the summer been? Arsenal have been engaged in some transfer rumours that gained so much traction. You almost believed we were going to get Vinai Jr., only for that stereotypical rug pull at the end, and the whole bait and switch to get him a better deal at Madrid worked, which you can't blame them. You can't blame the fans for getting excited, but I think you will check. I have the receipts. I didn't think it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little bit vindicated.
Vindicated, if you think.
Vindicated. Oh, you got there just ahead of me. But yeah, look, I'm excited to get back to regular match scheduling between this and the WSL on the way back.
Yeah.
That is, I'm excited. Arsenal men are, for this Premier League preview that we are doing, are a lot of people's favourites. Of course, I can't be too optimistic.
You never are, in fairness.
I think that's going to be a curse. I don't think we do well. We showed last season we did not do well with the favourites label. So I know we won it, but at what cost to myself and Neil's heart rate?
Hmm.
So yeah, look, all the stuff that's happened. I think the main talking point of the summer has been the World Cup and how that has affected, I suppose, the transfer window. And I do think it's been a bit interesting. A
Hmm.
lot of players that may not have been on the market, people getting it's like a shop window for who can make a move for themselves, who can get a few extra bob for themselves in the transfer window. So it'd be interesting to see how that all plans out.
Yeah,
What about yourself?
absolutely.
You excited for the start?
I am. You know, it's. I was even kind of like it is a kind of thing where like because obviously like because it's been a World Cup year and it's been like kind of like domestic football to kind of keep me kind of tiding over. It's almost like the Premier League has kind of snuck up on me a little bit. Like I only
Mm,
really kind of got in the mood again this week. Like I only watched like one preseason match all season, all over the summer, and that was the one against Como. And it's always the kind of thing because I've done this before where like I watch a preseason match and I think, oh my God, these guys are brilliant, or oh my God, I think these guys are terrible. And that kind of paints my view then for the rest of the year.
mm.
And son of a bitch, they got me again. They said I looked at the Como match and said, "Holy fuck, this is really good. We don't need any more signings." It's like, no, that's it. This is a lie. You know, this is a lie. Don't fall for the trap. Um, but nevertheless, like it's a very different league. I have to say, like it's because the last time we did an actual Premier League podcast, Arnie Slot was still Liverpool manager,
Yes.
and Eddie Howe was still at Newcastle. Like Kieran McKenna was gonna give this Ipswich thing a crack and try and get himself
Yeah.
back into the league. In that time, the entire mid-table has shifted totally. Like there's like nine new manage like practically half the league of new managers. And I think in a very roundabout way, it really does demonstrate how kind of chaotic the Premier League has actually become. You almost kind of forget about it in a way. You know, like how like certain other leagues kind of get a reputation for being like mental, like say Serie A in its prime, where like managers getting sacked left, right, and center. You had all these like eccentric owners like doing mad stuff out of superstition, like removing number 13s from the pitch or like pissing on the corner flags to get rid of hoodoos. The Premier League is just as mental. It's just that we just normalized it. You know, kind of way. It's like they're like the weird uncle that like everyone knows to stay away from. You know, the kind of way. It's like we've all just got used to its bullshit. And when you kind of bring it down to the sense where like, okay, the half the league of new managers, this is now just normal because it's always going to be a merry-go-round and stuff like this. But the way the cards have fallen this year is that all the managerial shifts are all the title contenders, and the mid table is totally different as well. And even the promoted teams coming up are not having the best of the most consistent of
Yeah.
summers either.
Like
It's so
usually
odd.
when they're coming up, they're trying to consolidate what they have, but
Hmm.
like it just seems like they are just chaos merchants as well. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, even the promoted teams themselves like are like three different flavors of like championship teams. Like
yeah.
Coventry last year, I watched a bit of them last year. They were such a well-oiled machine. They were so good, like almost a record points
Can
haul.
I ask, because I am ignorant in this? I have
Sure,
never seen a Coventry match. I didn't know what their jersey was until this week. It's quite nice. I like it.
it is a very nice jersey. Actually, I have to say,
Was
it's very
Lampard
strong.
always their coach?
Frank Lambert has been their coach for 2 years.
Two
So
years, okay.
Coventry basically they're like they would have started off they were in League One about 9 years ago,
Okay.
and they were so close to full extermination that they actually couldn't play at the Rico Arena as it used to be called, because they
Yes.
couldn't afford it. So they had to play their games in Northampton, which is depressing to say the
Yeah.
least. And basically over a little bit of new ownership, a little bit of like kind of fan intervention, and basically because of Mark Robbins, who formerly of Manchester United and also formerly of Coventry, took over as manager for a second time and basically got their shit together to get them out of League One, back into the Championship. They sold on a couple of players, made some solid profit on them, and essentially was able to buy back their chance to play at home. That was a big thing. And then they had an incredible year where they got so close to the playoffs. But in that time, they also got to the semi-finals of the FA Cup and nearly knocked United out. That kind of famous
Yes,
semi-final.
I do. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So that looked like the platform then for Coventry to crack on then and become the Premier League outfit again. But the following year, Robbins basically had an absolute disaster at the start of the season. He resigned and Frank Lampard took over, and they have been unstoppable ever since. In fact, if Frank Lampard was in charge of that season initially, they would have got promoted last year. That's how good they were.
Fair.
They've literally have not stopped momentum since he took over. It just seems to like I don't know whether it's just a confluence of things or like Frank Lampard is now finally found his niche as a manager, which
Yeah,
is just to get a
'cause
championship team organized.
he is definitely not. For me, in my mind, he is like just a nepo baby of the Premier League. Or like,
Yeah.
oh, you played for that England team, you played for that Chelsea winning team. Like, oh, you're obviously God's gift to football. But I
Hmm.
hadn't seen that in the Premier League. But
Yeah.
again, he was given his first managerial job as the Chelsea job. Like, that's just a
Hmm.
poison chalice
I,
there.
he was at Derby beforehand, in fairness, and he
Oh,
showed what
sorry.
he could
Yes.
do at Derby. I think the difference is like
He should never have taken the Chelsea job.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think
It was too early for him, but he should never have taken it.
yeah, I agree. I agree with that assessment. I think that was
Yeah.
I think that's what kind of painted him in such a negative light was that like he did so well with Derby, and again, Derby were not exactly best financially either. They were living off Chelsea loanees, and I think that kind of narrative then kind of obviously spins to a certain point. You think that's not quite his accomplishment; it's someone else's accomplishment. I think the Everton job was also the making of him as well because he did, to his credit, keep Everton up, when really they probably didn't deserve to. And then he wasn't able to do anything more beyond that. So again, it was finding that other job that's there. I think Lampard is one of those kind of like is from that generation of English midfielders who like you think should be good managers. You know, you're thinking the likes of Scholes, Gerrard, Rooney as well, and like none of them have really proven it in a sense. Rooney is definitely not a manager material. I think he's enjoying his stuff now as a pundit. Gerrard, I think, is a little bit too cagey to be a manager. I think he would rather stay in media as well. Really, the only success story from that generation is Michael Carrick, and even then, that's still a little bit the jury's still out on that one in the sense this season will be the making of him. But even then, I think sometimes like those type of managers, they just need to find what they're good at. And sure, Frank Lampard is probably not going to win the Premier League as a manager. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I think he is that type of manager who's going to do what his uncle does, like Harry Redknapp. I think he's going to
Yeah.
he'd go into a team, get their shit together, maybe sign a couple of shrewd players, then move on to the next gig. And I think that's probably what his role is, you know? Um, but it's interesting in the sense that like obviously because we're watching Coventry at the moment, like this is a bit of a baptism of fire, but that's also the making of them as well. Um, so like Coventry, I think were like a proper like top tier championship team. Ipswich, I think were very much like the second best team in the championship, and a lot of that was down to Kieran McKenna being such a good coach.
Yeah.
You know, they're kind of the same team that did get relegated with a few exceptions like Delap and so forth. And again, it's a lot of championship players now trying to move up the gears
Just
into
trying to
a
push
Premier League
themselves. Yeah.
standard, and that's quite hard. Hull is a basket case. Uh, Hull
Yeah.
are just fucking mental. They're owned by a Turkish media mogul. Um, and it was the same Turkish guy who owned Shelbourne for a while, before he ended up selling up as well. Then that's why Shell's got a whole lot of like Hull loanees out, like Harry Woods, who's now moved on to Luton and stuff like that. And a few one or two other players in the mix too. And basically Hull kind of got there because Middlesbrough fucked up, really. Like they snuck into the playoff on the last day. They to their credit did beat I think it was Millwall, I want to say, in the semi-final of the playoff. Obviously, Southampton got struck out of the playoffs because of the spying shenanigans, so Middlesbrough got a bye into the final,
Yes.
and basically pulled Middlesbrough's pants down, and they got to the Premier League. And when I tell you that they are literally going to be banking that money and getting the fuck out of the Premier League in record fucking fashion, I don't hold hope for them, to be honest with you. Um, so yeah, I don't hold much hope for the three promoted teams. I'll be perfectly honest with you. But what I'm really intrigued by is the proverbial main event scene, the Champions League spots, because it's probably the first time in a while that Arsenal are coming in as the most kind of consistent kind of goal standard in a league. Like you'd probably say since the prime Wenger years have Arsenal actually been the best team in the league, and also the most stable because as this is going to shock you when you hear this, but Mikel Arteta is the longest like serving manager in the league at the moment. Um,
Bizarre stat.
it's not insane to say that. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like it's been that long at all, but it just shows you how fluid things have been lately with all the other teams. And the fact that like okay, maybe it felt that it was a bit of a nervy finish last year to the league, in terms of actually getting across the line. I know you had a game or two at hand in the end, but every other team is in a bit of state of flux. So like, but Arsenal pretty much staying the same, subject to
Yeah,
obviously fitness and stuff like that. It's could be a different story altogether.
as a fan, I would hope that the fact that we are that most stable team, the fact that we had such a solid defensive base, might mean that we might open up kind of tactically a little bit and kind of like
Hmm.
play this football from a few seasons ago that got everyone so excited to have Arteta as our manager, where we played that kind of free, fluid, total liquid football.
Yes.
We did not see that. It was turgid. It was rigid. It was horseshoe of death,
Mm.
attacking formations. And that was that. And there's we spoke about it at the time, but there's reasons behind that. Like we desperately needed a focal figure, a la Olivier Giroud.
Yeah.
But what we had was, as I coined, less than 10 guckers. And
Which you're proven wrong in the end, by the way.
but not by much. Like he was not the 20 goal a season striker we needed.
Yeah.
And yeah, like coming, it is a weird feeling to come in as the favourites. Obviously, I don't like it,
Mm.
um, because I've seen how we deal with that. Like we are good to be the underdogs.
Mm.
Give us that underdogs that we're fighting for a reputation. That's grand. Give us the reputation of being the favourites, and we tend to shit the bed.
Yeah.
So, um, but like you look at like when I was asked to do the predictions for this, I kind of went through and I was like, actually, like our biggest rivals the last few years, you've got Liverpool, new
Mm.
manager. I think a better fit of a manager. Although I think Slot was always again kind of got dealt a blow because he was inheriting a team really that had the loss of Jota,
Yeah.
and like either that, like I said at the time, that season was a buy for you guys.
Mm.
How much of a fallen like off a cliff in terms of performances, I don't think anyone could have predicted.
Mm.
But I do think now the team, not like Salah, his best friend, has now left the squad, um, and the team is a bit more kind of used to each other, and then and like it'll be getting used to not having Salah in the squad. But I think that's very doable. You've got some fabulous footballers in that squad, so
Yeah.
and I think they can kick on. So I do think out of the chasing pack, if you will, you are the Liverpool would be our biggest kind of contenders, I think, because even though it is flux, it's a bit more stable because there hasn't been wholesale changes to the squad.
Mm.
I think, like managerial wise, the style of play is going to suit you. Um, Contrast that with City. City is a complete overhaul, so they have been the
Mm.
stable like, behemoth of a team that every team has been terrified to come up against. And you've got the scoring Yeti, and you've got solid defense and Donnarumma in goal. Like they are formidable, but there's been so much changeover of like style. Like you've got a manager coming in who's gonna have a different style. You're gonna
Mm.
have um like he's complete overhaul of the midfield. And that was one of their key points of a Pep team is having a solid midfield. So
Yeah,
like
definitely.
as much as they have the solid players and they have the money backing, it's going to take time, I think, for it to settle. So that leaves then Chelsea, who have decided to just buy another starting 11 by the looks of things. Um, I didn't realize just how many signings they'd made this summer until I saw it listed out, and I went, "Holy fuck!"
And you know what the gas thing was? Like a good majority of them were like done like in January. They were all like prescribed signings, and they're all some of them are rinsed through like Strasbourg and
Yeah,
a few other places. So it's kind of mental. Like these are signings that even Zabi Alonso wouldn't have signed off on. These
yeah,
are ones that would have been done before we're senior, even. Like
yeah.
it's mental stuff that what they're doing.
Um, I know Philippe Auclair, the journalist
Yeah.
for Josselber, an occasional Guardian Football Weekly pundit, has done a deep dive into Chelsea's financials, and from what I have read of it, it is bleak. Like it is very much the signings are papering over a crack, but
Yeah.
that wallpaper is fairly decent looking on paper in terms of it can do a bit of damage. It can, will it click? If it clicks, they are absolutely title contenders.
Mm.
If it doesn't click, they could be Spurs last year level of calamity.
Yeah, it kind of has if we might as well talk about Chelsea first. Then in that case, we'll land on that for the moment because
Yeah.
I feel about Chelsea how you feel about Liverpool this year, because I do rate Xabi Alonso as a coach. I think look if you look sleeping on what happened with him in Madrid. I think it's quite evident from what's happened since that Madrid is just a mental asylum.
Yeah.
And I think anytime you try and impose some level of authority and also some level of like your kind of like intentions onto a basically onto a squad of players who think they know better, and I think that's always going to end badly. And I think it's also something to be said about what Alonso can do when he has the time to bed stuff in. He clearly works better with a young squad that's impressionable enough to take on what he wants. And at least with Chelsea, by sheer numbers alone, they'll have enough players to implement what system he wants to do. I think Alonso tactically will be is the closest to Antonio Conte that Chelsea have had, and for me, that's been like the type of Chelsea team that's almost impervious is a back three, flying wing backs at number 10 that can manipulate the play, engine room midfield behind him, and then pretty solid striker up front. Chelsea do have all those players. Like Palmer would be the analog to Hazard in that Conte team. The wing backs are there now. Whether they be Palestra and Barco, the new ones, or would they be Reece James and I would say probably Chavaria would be the natural replacement for Cucurella in that team. They have certainly have enough centre backs. In fact, they have too many. So they'll definitely sell them on. And you definitely have striking options in João Pedro, Delap, Danny Welbeck will pick up a few goals this season, I'd say. And then take your pick from all the other young players. Morgan Rogers now has to find a place in this team as well, but he very well might be the Hazard analog I'm talking about there. Palmer might be shifted out wide, which probably suits him better too. So there's a lot to like about the Chelsea team, but as you said, it's just there's such sheer amount of numbers in between that it's just unsustainable. Like you're talking about Philippe Auclair there, I read that report as well. Like Chelsea are 1 billion in debt. There is a billion pounds in debt that they need to clear, and it's clearly the typical venture capitalist stuff that people do is that they leverage the debt against the club and they basically just fuck off. And lo
Yeah.
and behold, Bowley and Co are now planning to fuck off and leave like a bad debt and a bad taste in Chelsea's mouths. So they are very clearly dependent on player trading again and Champions League qualification. So they will sell players by the end of by the end of the window because they have to. They've no choice. So I'd expect Enzo to go. I would probably expect a couple of their centre backs to go as well, and maybe not a big player. Like they could lose a forward. They might lose one or two wingers there as well because they have too many of them. And on top of that, I do believe Nicholas Jackson's going to replace Watkins at Villa, and I think Axel Disasi is going to Palace on loan. So that's two players off the book straight away. And God knows what they're going to do with all the goalkeepers as well. So it is a bit of a mess. But again, in that if they burn through that kind of crucible, there is a functional team there. And ironically enough, even though they are so clearly needing Champions League football to survive, I think not being in Europe this year is what's going to help them. Substantially less games to worry about. Maybe a nice cup run here and there, maybe to get Xabi Alonso off the ground in terms of domestic trophies. But I think they're going to do really well solely because they only have to worry about 40 games this season compared to their rivals who will have to deal with 60. Um, so I think that is going to save them a little bit. That being said, as a Liverpool fan, it is fucking weird seeing him in blue. It doesn't
Yeah.
work. It's one of those kind of weird things that you see in a football manager save. It is an automatic ick off it. And I don't even know if Alonso wanted this either because I think he was kind of hoping that Liverpool would call him and stuff like this, but Chelsea got there first. And whether that kind of like that little bit of caginess from Liverpool was deliberate or not, I think will remain to be seen. Because this is the kind of thing where, like, if Chelsea were to go on to win the league, then Liverpool look like fools for not getting there first. But if Liverpool win the league and then Chelsea struggle, then they're fully justified in picking somehow a more Basque human being than Xabi Alonso, because Areola is a very Basque human being. Like it's very much like him and Arteta are going to be like communicating via like eyebrows, during their matches. Like it's going to be fascinating. Um, but going back on your Liverpool conversation, like it is going to be a funny one for us this season because I can see where we're coming from in terms of what happened with Liverpool last season because like you can kind of split it into three different categories like the off the on the field stuff, which is like how they were playing, the I suppose the admin side of it, which was the transfers that they made, and then the off the pitch stuff, obviously. So like we will never be able to quantify what impact Jota's death had in that team. We just can't. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It affects them in different ways, and we had a lovely conversation about that over the season last year. If people want to check it out on our playlist, I would say if we're talking about the stuff that we can see and the stuff that we can't control, I think Arne Slot made two very, very bad mistakes last season, and it's only really come out in the wash since his departure. The first one was I think he messed around too much with positions and places, and I think he was trying to be a little bit too clever tactically because I think he was trying to find a way to get all of his playmakers on the field at one go, which is basically Szoboszlai, Wirtz, and Salah. And I think a lot of people made the same kind of assessment, which was basically these are the Salah replacement signings while Salah's still there in what was meant to be like a smooth transition or torch passing between the two, and obviously backfired to a certain degree. Injuries didn't help matters, of course. Like there's some horrendous fucking luck with injuries between Bradley and Leone, and just a constant malaise with Isak that year, and then
Yeah.
Ekitike's Achilles
That
snapping.
that I think was probably you could probably get over all of the signings not clicking and not
Yeah.
gelling. But the fact that the Isaac thing was so prolonged, there
Yes.
was the head to head with would he stay at Newcastle or would he actually go to Arsenal?
Mm,
Oh, look, we've won. We bet Arsenal to it. Oh, this is it. This and like that put so much pressure on that particular signing that when
yeah.
it didn't work out, it really didn't work out.
Exactly. It kind of crystallizes the stuff more when you are missing players crucial in the outfit, and then those are the ones that you're really having to depend on. It doesn't help matters. And yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Now, I think what really killed him this season, this past season with Slot, is he just didn't seem that bothered with the club. And the reason I say that is because obviously, I think we said at the time, he's a very Dutch coach. He has his way. They have a certain mythology and a way of kind of like coming across. And that's not a fair stick to beat him with. But what is a fair stick to beat him with is that over the time as a football manager, he apparently made one visit to the Liverpool Academy over the space of 2 years, which is absolutely negligible.
Yeah.
And it became very much evident when it came to like the level of progression in the team because it took him a very long time to trust Ngomoa with a place in the squad. And Ngomoa is very clearly a world class talent. And if he is given the space and opportunity to develop, I think he will become one of the best players in the world. Again, injuries aside, and like whatever happens down the line, I think he has that potential. The other players that are in that Liverpool academy were not getting a look in. And not only were they not getting a look in, there would have been chances there to say, right, we need to get some young players in. When he does play them, they're whiffs of matches. They're matches he doesn't care about.
Yeah.
In the championship winning season, I'm reminded of the cup game against Plymouth, where he just kind of, or the Champions League game against PSV, where he just plays children. He plays an absolutely terrible team, and lo and behold, they lose the PSV, and in a very like kind of like butterfly effect way, end up having to draw PSG in the next round. If he took that match against PSV seriously, he wouldn't have got PSG
Yeah.
and got knocked out. So he just didn't seem to kind of be on the ball in a sense. So I think Areola is definitely a more of a cultural fit with Liverpool in a sense that his mythology is based on hard work, it's based on high pressure, it's based on movement, it's based on running. That's all the stuff that Liverpool fans love. They want to see hard work. They're much like Man United in that sense. They want to see industry. They want to see a lot of movement, a lot of pressure. They want to see good attacking football. And I think in that sense, he's going to get that right. Again, the shoe's going to be on the foot now in a sense like he needs the players to do that. He's going to need a bigger squad because Slot wanted to work with, he wanted to do what kind of Montemurro did with Arsenal and work with the smallest possible squad.
Yes.
That's fucking mental with the schedule that you have. You
But
can't
yeah,
play with
and
21
this
players.
day
You
and
need
age,
25, 27, you know?
this day and age, and if you want to compete at all fronts, it's just that's an insane ask.
It is absolutely mental. Like you just can't do it anymore. So I would certainly, I certainly hope based like I come again, preseason lies to you to a certain degree. But if I'm picking two players that will likely break into the first team this year, it's going to be probably Trade Yoni, who has been said about him like last year as well, and then Slot basically just kind of forgot he was there. But again, didn't seem to trust him for any level of like big match or anything like that. So there's a hope there that he might break through this year. Lewis Kumas, weirdly enough, who's the son of Jason Kumas, formerly of Wigan and Wales, um, also seems to have a bit of a shout in the team as well. He's been trying out different players on the right flank to replace Salah. At the moment, it's looked like Ngamo is going to play there instead, and it looked like it's going to be a choice of Gakpo or Verts on the left, and on the right it's going to be Ngamo and Victor Gomez, the new sign, Victor Munoz, I should say, on the other side. Now, I think I expect the Minte deal to go through. I think the second bid got rejected, but they're looking for 70 million. Liverpool will have 70 million, so that'll go through. So that'll be the two options on the right. Chiesa is apparently the backup striker until Ekitike returns. So there seems to be the makings of a plan there when it comes to the attack. Um, there's hope that Xhaka is going to be a seamless fit for in the back line. It's just going to be a matter of keeping the fullbacks fit, which is why Arajo came into the squad. Liverpool fans are not happy with Arajo as a signing. Um, on the pitch, he has a touch of the Lovrins about him because he could be a great 1 minute and then a fucking calamity the next. Off the pitch, he takes the occasional trip to Tel Aviv to wind down and relax with his IDF girlfriend. So
Oh,
that's gonna
did
get
not
beaten
know
out of him,
that.
I think. So,
Hmm.
so I think
Okay.
I think Scouse politics are going to show their moment eventually, considering it's a fucking Basque manager as well. So we'll see if the Christy Moore chant actually takes off or not. I don't know if have you heard the chant that some of the Liverpool fans want for Areola.
I had seen it on paper. I have not heard it.
I haven't heard it yet either. I won't. I don't think it's made it to the mainstream yet. So we'll see if it
Okay.
works. I doubt it, unfortunately. But I want it to happen in a weird way. Um, let's talk about Man City then, because you were saying as well, Man City is a totally different outfit than to what they were last season, and I don't think you could be any further to the truth or further from that in the sense that there's no Rodri, there's no Bernardo, there's no John Stones. Like that entire spine has been ripped out and started again, and if there's any way to say let's have a totally different team, like this is it. Like this could go really well or really badly for Man City, and I'm erring on the side of bad going by the Community Shield. Well, how do you think they were during that match?
As I said in our group chat, I was dual screening and single parenting. So, what I could see was every time I looked up, Arsenal had the ball, were comfortable in possession, and it was calm. It was
Yeah.
calm possession play. Um, so that was a relief. So from what I've seen on highlight reels and what I've kind of done my bit of research and stuff into it, it was very controlled, and that seemed to be like. But again, do City take the Community Shield seriously? Like, are they still resting a lot of their key players ahead of a season where they're going to be competing on all fronts and they're going to be gunning for that title? So I'm not going
Mm.
to put too much weight onto it, although it was very, very reassuring to see that we can play that nice attacking, controlled football with fast-paced, direct attack. Like, and I have to say, just like Lewis Skelly was unbelievable in that midfield. Every time I looked up, he was pressing forward, and his kind of attacking play was a joy to watch, to be honest, and something that we like. Anyone who's followed his career through the academy and breaking into the first team would know that's in his locker.
Yeah.
He came in as a left back, as you know, Arteta loves to just throw people into left back, just see how they do. And to be fair, he did so well there. I would have thought that maybe that's his position, but like this is where he started out. This was his career trajectory. Was central midfield, and at the minute, like yeah, I think he's great.
I'm
It
so
could
glad to see him
unfortunately
back
mean that.
playing for Arsenal because all the stuff that was like linking him with a move away was just fucking insane. Like, I know I
I
give out about Arteta at the best of times, but I think I would have lynched him if he sold Lewis Skelly to a championship rival. Like, it's just that's crazy shit to be even considering, let alone actually going ahead with.
Yeah, now where I will jump in, it could still happen.
Mm,
Arsenal are looking to make profit. Um, there's kind of different talks on how much is owed and financial balance in the books needs to be done, and
yeah,
what better way to do that than by selling an academy product
mm,
that hasn't cost you anything. So it's
hmm
like
pure profit.
uh, pure profit. So like that could still happen, that they could just see him more as a money grab and
Mm.
then sell him off, which I think would be met with a lot of fan ire.
Is that being kind of presented almost like a choice between Lewis Kelly and Waneri? Because I think if I was Arsenal, I want to keep both and maybe look to sell a squad player as opposed to anything else. I mean, if you have enough defenders, maybe one can go. Maybe one can head
No,
off somewhere else, you know?
no, we must never leave our defense in any way compromised.
You have like 15 of them. I think you're
But
fine.
they're all crocked.
They're all, I know they're all equally cropped. That's probably why you need 15 of them. Like it's mental. Like surely if there was anyone to lead that squad, surely it's Ben White. Like between all the other like right fullback options you have now, I
He
don't think
has
he's needed.
played the majority of preseason.
Mm,
And I would say I've seen some of the best football from him in the last three matches.
okay.
Um, I think that his injury was managed last season, so much so that it got Timber injured because they weren't risking the minutes
Yeah.
on Ben. And I don't think there's any intention to sell him, really.
Mm,
I think just from what I see, have seen in preseason, like he has just been top class,
yeah.
and
Fair enough.
he would be my one to kind of, I'm gonna say, watch for the season. Like I know we could be saying new signings, but he could be like a new signing.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like when you have a player that like has been like semi-injured all season, we had that with Odegaard really last season, didn't you?
Well,
It's like
I
it
was
only
actually
really kind of
just
came to life
jump
towards the end.
to jump on that and kind of add to my point.
Mm,
Um, when we played our best football, our best liquid football at Arsenal in the last few years, it has been with a fit Saka, a
mm,
fit Odegaard, and a fit Ben White down that right side. Currently playing it there tonight, it looks sublime,
yeah.
and that would be a very scary combination to come up against if you're in the league. They don't play the same style when Timber is in that right back position,
Mm.
and they kind of switch it up and they kind of use his pace a bit more. But my God, some of the interplay there, it didn't get a look in the halftime analysis from what I see, but it should have, because it was unbelievable.
That I think that's one for the tactical nerds later on when they're decoding the match in front of them. But yeah, like but that's the thing. Like that's also the hope for Arsenal is that they are going to be a little bit more open to this season because really again, we were talking about those kind of three main kind of championship contenders. They all have certain level of flaws to them. You know, like I think again, Chelsea's bloated squad. I think will backfire to a certain degree. I think Liverpool's squad are just a little bit too thin to play what the maximum role of football. And I think Man City, like their midfield has just been carved open. Like I think Elliot Anderson is probably gonna be getting a lot of arrows in his back because of the price tag and stuff. But like, it's very clear that Man City need more players, in terms of like in the precise area that they need, which is in midfield. And like realistically, they probably do need a centre back as well because they've said goodbye to Ake and Akanji and Stones. That's three centre backs they're saying they're selling off there this season.
Yeah.
So they do need to get like defensive kind of bolsterings as well. There's always question marks over Maresca as well, whether like he's going to be able to fucking emotionally guilt trip his players enough into a performance like Guardiola does. I don't know how many divorces he can mention before it gets a
Yeah.
little bit old, but I mean, Jesus, like I don't know, maybe City might play better because like they don't have to like deal with like clearly an emotionally rattled human being every week. Like, like don't get me wrong, Guardiola's
Hey,
the best
don't
center.
just play football for the love of it. Wow.
Again, don't get me wrong. Like Guardiola is the best manager of our generation, I'd say. But my God, he is a basket case of a human being. Like he just seems like if you kind of say boo to him, he'll burst into tears. Like it's unbelievable. Like it's like that. The whatever clips I've seen from that documentary is a fucking eye opener. You know, like like again in this ever increasing debate between Guardiola ball and Klopp football. Say what you will about Jurgen Klopp as a human being, but he's now smoking a cigar on a beach, and then he's been drafted into the Germany job. I think he's got the better end of the deal, to be honest with you. Like, we'll see.
100%.
So let's talk about other contenders. So Man United obviously are in the Champions League again this year, and I'd still say they're kind of a relatively new outfit as well under Michael Carrick because again they benefited a lot from not having Champions League football to worry about, so they're able to basically kind of get their shit together post Amorim, and clearly off the back of Bruno Fernandes who had a generational year, but. It's going to be interesting to them to see if they can sustain it now with the extra number of games. I'm quietly confident that their new midfield is going to work because Tielemans is a Premier League proven player. Andre Santos, I think they paid too much for him personally. I wasn't really impressed with him at Chelsea, but he fits the mold of what they want to do. I think Baleba is going to be the real star turn in that team. I think he is a very very good engine room midfielder. So between the three of them and seemingly a resurgent Mason Mount, which I'm shocked by, um, they seem to have the makings of a decent midfield there. Um, and then some fairly decent young players coming through as well. Like both Fletcher brothers seem to be both.
Sorry, just to interrupt you. There was a passage of four passes there.
I think.
Saka, Odegaard, Ben White, Odegaard, goal.
Yeah, I think you just
So,
you predicted the third goal there, really, didn't you?
can I get a Sky Sports call up, please? Thank you.
Unfortunately, it's going out after the match is over, so we've no way of proving it. Like
Oh, that's fair.
I'm
Yeah.
literally about to see this goal now as you're talking as you described it. It's just funny. It's like we're literally talking about that right hand side of Arsenal, and literally a goal happens from the right side. It's that's that's
Odegaard,
that's that's uh
Saka,
that's
Ben
good. That's
White.
good punditry. I'd say you should stick down your CV. But that is a great goal. To be fair, that's fantastic. Typical Arsenal. But but yeah, I think I think United have reasons to be hopeful, but again, I think it's a lot of it is down to how they're going to sustain the Champions League challenge because again their seeding has been all fucked up now because they've been out of Europe for a bit, so they're not going to be a pot one team. I think they're going to be pot three, which is a bit of a dead spot in the Champions League from what I can recall. I know that it's not as big a factor as a under this new setup than it was like a few years ago, but it's still going to kill them. Having so many tough games and potentially like tricky like travel assignments as well. I just actually checked there; they're going to be in pot two, so it's not as bad.
Yeah.
Now that a few of their kind of spots have been filled. So, but even then, they are literally themselves and Villa are the two English teams in pot two. Everyone else is in pot one. So they've still got quite a lot to do there. Um, at the very least, I think I think they'd be still happy enough to keep the position if they can. Um, I think they probably will because I think, like a couple of teams, they've geared themselves for the counter attack, which suits them the best. I think when they have to go and win a game against a defensive team, that's where they struggle because they don't have that kind of killer ball, um, or at least didn't have it last year. Maybe they will this year. Who knows? That's where I think Bruno's going to have to be at his best behavior again this year. So
Mm.
it's going to be a curious
Yeah,
one.
he's going to be the hinge player for them. If they can keep him happy, I
Hmm.
don't know. He never looks happy. But if
He
they can
looks
keep him
exhausted. That's
playing,
the problem. He always looks fucking like he's been carrying the team. He has literally been carrying the team for 2 years, so I don't blame him.
give Bruno a rest. No, look, Tielemans had a very good World Cup. I know Belgium didn't do great, but he personally had a decent campaign. So if he can continue that form, he's always going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
Um, but like a lot of the times, like United buys someone of that ilk,
Mm.
and they don't do it. Um, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see, and it does kind of, um, just with recency bias, I don't know will they do it.
Yeah.
But they certainly can on paper, but they certainly could have on paper the last few seasons as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
um,
The Rashford equation is interesting
they're
as
the
well, isn't it?
team I find very hard. Sorry, just to I find it very hard to think of them objectively because I hate a lot of them so much. But
Mm.
as objectively as I can say, I think they have a good team on paper, but
Mm.
not necessarily a proven team on paper. So even then, it's hard to guess how far they'll go. But I had them doing okay, I think, in my predictions.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I don't think we have any real kind of. Well, we're going to get to the predictions in the second half because there is some hot takes hidden amongst them. We will get through them all, Dave. But we've certainly got everyone doing okay in the top five. I think a lot of it are
Yeah,
kind of variations of a theme. Because again, I just genuinely think I don't think people really in a way. I I think we all have an idea of like where they are going to be thereabouts, but given I think the exact position, I think is actually quite tricky
yeah,
because
it's very
there's so many moving
congested
parts this
in
year.
different pockets.
Mm,
So, like, I do think the top, say, top five will be congested. I
yeah,
do think uh, the bottom five will be congested, and then
yeah.
I think there'll be a little bit of breadth between the top and the middle and the bottom and the middle, but that middle would be like interchangeable weekly.
Mm. Yeah, that's quite interesting because like the what's very different about the mid table this year is that they're all in Europe. So like obviously Spurs I think are going to benefit from like not having the European commitments and they are I'd say a very particularly gimmicky team like very much the Zerbi football intended for transitions and counterattacks and all their signings are pointing that direction. Like their midfield is like they bought probably one too many midfielders so they probably will sell somebody maybe Bergval because they probably want to keep Archie Gray because of his ability to play centre back as well. Um, they've are retooling their attack now as we speak as well with Savinho and Marmouche. Again, not great attacking options, but they've got at least Premier League experience. They do play at a high
Yeah.
level. They,
Marmouche is a good one. I was kind of surprised that he was even on offer because I do think he offered something different for City last year, but
yeah,
obviously to the manager. Um, but yeah, Spurs doing Spurs things of like I can't really see a plan for them.
mm,
Like it, like sit back and then counter attack football. Like that's the Spurs way.
yeah.
That's not new. Um, are they gonna have Christian Romero? Is he definitely gone?
He is definitely gone. Yes, he's gone to Atletico. He left during the
Oh,
week.
he finally escaped.
Good riddance to
Imagine.
him, to be honest with you. He was a pain in the fucking
Oh,
hole.
oh, he absolute like. How could they like him? Like, how could you make him club
Oh,
captain? Like,
believe me, I
just
think that I think that Spurs fans very much learned this year that he was a terrible idea for a captain because he sure remember the last game of the season he had intentions to attend a game in Argentina for his
yeah.
boyhood club because he was suspended. I think he was either suspended or sent off or something. Yeah, I think he was suspended, and because like he couldn't play, he was intended to just stay in Argentina. And then the story got out, and he said, "No, no,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
just
coming
fake
home.
news.
I'm coming home.
I am going to be there for the last game of the season where we have to win to stay up. Yeah, we're definitely going to be there for sure." So total bullshitter, like.
Yeah.
And he got found out at the World Cup. To be honest with you, I don't rate him. It's annoying that he scored. He did actually play relatively well at the World Cup, but like that whole Argentinian team were all kind of portrayed as villains in the end, really, in that final. But yeah, they're going to be bit of a gimmicky team, but they're also going to benefit from like all those teams that overperformed last season now having European assignments. So like in the
Yeah.
Europa League alone, you've got Bournemouth, Sunderland, and Palace, and they're all totally inexperienced. Well, maybe not Palace because they won the Conference League, but they're going to be inexperienced playing at that level of European football. It's going to be a great fucking adventure for all of them. Hilarious enough, Bournemouth might get a fine from UEFA because of their financial rules because Bournemouth makes so little in as a club, um, and their squad like kind of like cost is the way it is. Basically, that's why they have to like move to a new stadium. Bournemouth do. They have to like make a new stadium
Try
to
and
build the revenue.
recoup the funds and yeah.
Yeah. Sunderland don't have that problem, obviously. But again, they're going to be tricky assignments as well. Brighton in the Conference League as well is a bit of a banana peel for them too, because they would have maybe less European games to worry about, but bigger trips in a sense. Like they could end up having, like, going to like weird, far off places like Kazakhstan, Northern Ireland, Slovenia, like these kind of like just strange, faraway places that we don't play football in. So, and the weekends are also quite awkward. I think remember when Chelsea were in the Conference League, they had to do a trip out to Kazakhstan on the same week as a Carling Cup match. So that's rotten. You know,
Yeah.
that's a pretty shit assignment if that's how the cards fall. But they actually didn't even they were in the playoff against Tromso and it ended 0-0. So they might even get to the league phase. You know, that might be a little bit of um stratagem there from Fabian Hertzler and his new head. Have you seen his hair transplant, by the way?
I
Um,
haven't.
it's terrible. Because he had hair to begin with. And then he obviously went for a proper hair transplant in Turkey. It has failed, so now he's got this kind of Bart Simpson hair going on, and it looks awful. It's a
Weird.
bit of a shit show, like. But
Oh, that's
yeah,
hilarious.
not great.
Yeah, he hasn't endeared me to. No, as a person, he's very unlikable,
Yes,
but in a likable way. Does
he's a
that make sense?
character, is what you're saying. He's like,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
Yes, I think that's what we call in the business a heel. You want to see him do badly, but he's also
yeah,
getting you in the door to see that you're paying to see him do badly. So
yeah,
that
yeah.
means he's doing his job, and unfortunately, out of all the clubs then in the rest of the league, who do you think is going to have? Let's go for a few little earmarks. Let's set up our predictions talk in the second half. What clubs are you very interested in this year in terms of going up or down the league?
Okay, I'm gonna jump in with maybe a weird one for me.
Hmm.
Everton.
I'm actually going to agree with you on that.
Purely because there's so much going on at that club.
Mm,
What's gonna happen? Like Tielemans was their arguably their best player last season, gone. Um, I haven't a clue anyone who they signed.
are we talking about Villa or Everton here?
Everton.
Okay.
Sorry, sorry. I know Tielemans Villa. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I was
The
confused. Yeah.
um,
Well, Coleman's
who's
gone
the
anyway
guy?
for a start. So
Well, yeah,
that's
who's
a
the
big
guy
talent.
I'm thinking of the winger for Everton?
Well, they sold McNeil, but that was a swap deal with Palace. So I think probably they got actually probably Everton probably got a better deal with that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't him. Anyway, I can't think of who I'm thinking. Anyway, I'm just interested to see how that whole thing pans out
Mm,
because they survived by the fact that there were other teams worse than them just about.
yeah.
Um, and then they've lost like Jamie Coleman, who like obviously fantastic Irish footballer,
Mm,
um, and club legend for them. So yeah, I'm interested just to see what they're at. Sunderland were the surprise team of the league last year. I can't see them retaining that. Um, I just don't see it happening again for them
yeah.
this season. I think they're going to be comfortable mid table.
Yeah, possibly. Like this, I think the Sunderland one is quite interesting because they haven't done much business. I think they were more worried about people being poached from them, if anything. But they had a quite a bit of a big squad as well because a lot of the players that got them to the championship, got them from out of the
Or they haven't
championship were
spent.
still there. Um,
Yeah,
so I think they were probably hoping this moves to Fon, which I think they have now, in fairness. Thomas Meunier, who was from like the Belgian kind of like golden age national team, is now at Sunderland. Playing at like he's like still 34, but he went for nothing. And I was thinking to myself that has a bit of a touch of the Xhaka's about them as well. So
yeah,
that is I think a brilliant signing for them. I think they were just more kind of like ensuring that a lot of the players that did impress last year were still there. I'm thinking the likes of Robbie and some of the other young players that didn't quite like that kind of flew under the radar enough not to get noticed. But again, an assignment in Europe, and I think I think that might change the conversation. When you're talking about Everton, like I think you were kind of in the presumption that they were going to struggle. I actually think Everton are going to do really well this year. And the reason I say that is because they've been weirdly smart in the transfer markets. Because like we've had a couple of years where Everton have acted the bollocks with money, and they spent stuff that they didn't have, and they were like having Ancelotti as a manager or Ronald Koeman buying three number tens and one ended up being a nonce. Like it's like mad stuff would be happening there. But what David Moyes is very, very good at doing is just being very savvy. Not committing too much money wise, just getting players that he needs and no one else. So like he has bolstered his midfield massively. So Ganagay is gone and gone kicked out by all accounts after that fucking scrap he had with his own teammate. Um
yeah.
Dwight McNeil is a very Sean Dyche player, so naturally Moisey didn't want him. But Brennan Johnson, fucking bang of Moisey player off him. I think he's exactly the type of player he wants. Your Merlin Roll seemed to have a great first act at Everton, so his sign has been made permanent. Tyreek George, I think, is going to do well as too because I think he's pretty much ready for first team football based off his time at Chelsea. I was very impressed with him when he was playing there, especially in that Conference League campaign. And he's made a good move with Hayden Hackney, who is the Middlesbrough number 6 that nearly got promoted. Good age, he's 24. He is an English midfielder, but I believe he can declare for Scotland as well, which I believe he is intending to. And he is a proper box to box midfielder. He is someone who will carry the ball and bring it forward and do all that kind of good stuff that, a 4-4-2 midfield kind of needs. So I'm actually really impressed with Everton's business so far. And I don't know if they want to add any more. I'm sure they'll pick a Chelsea player from the auction if they need it. And you know what, Burpa? He might even play Christian Norgard, who is a very fucking David Moyes player.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true.
you know,
But I don't know. I probably sounded a bit too negative there for Everton, but that's
yeah,
why I genuinely can't. I can't tell. Are they going to
yeah,
be scrapping at the bottom, or are they going to get into that mid-table? Because you like that, like there's just so much change, and like
yes,
I don't need to go
absolutely.
through all of the teams in the league and kind of point out that fact. But I do think Sunderland will be the ones that are interesting to see, can they maintain that strong presence that they had last year.
Mm,
Everton are, can they reverse that? Like,
yeah.
so yeah, they would be my two that I'm gonna keep an eye on just for entertainment's sake.
Yeah, I think for entertainment's sake, I think Newcastle's going to be my one for that because the majority of their first team are gone. Like Tonali and Gamara is their entire midfield ravaged, so they're gone. Gordon's gone to Barcelona, which is still a mental signing to say out loud. Um, most of their senior players have gone. Like Trippier has gone to Wolves, Target's gone to Hull, Ruddy has been scrapped, Kraft has been scrapped. So like they're all like that's a good percentage of like senior players gone, and all the players they bought so far are under the age of 24. So a lot of youth and a lot of gambles in terms of hoping that these players bed in pretty much in the deep end because like most of the teams in the Premier League have their shit together this year. I think Newcastle are kind of hoping that the three promoted teams do worse than them because that's a lot of youth to throw into a first team and hope that they all click. So I think they might struggle this year, but I think they're gonna be very like I think they're gonna be a fun watch solely because like they just seem like they're gonna be a basket case. So who knows what's gonna happen with them, you know? Um. So yeah. Anyway, shall we call it close to this first half, and then we can jump in with our first round of the new season of Winning 11. Yes, this is Winning 11. This is our little mini game to mark the halftime mark of our shows, where I challenge my guest in this case, to cast their minds back to a time where a team did win a football match and see if they can successfully predict the winning 11 from that match. Usually in my production notes, I give a little clue as to what the match would be about, and this week's clue has been the word shield. Um, Now, Bart, you know shields quite well. What's your favorite shield if you had to pick one?
Um, the Legend of Zelda wooden shield that breaks after your first hit.
Oh, that's a good one. Because like you could have picked the Hyrule Shield, which is actually good, which actually went for a ship one there. I like that. I like your style.
Yeah, you have to win somehow.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's good hustle. Um, but yes, no. So unfortunately, this is not about the Hyrule Derby that ended 5-4 to the Gerudo FC. This is going to be going back to the Community Shield or Charity Shield if you are of a certain age. Because Arsenal this year will be looking to do something that hasn't happened since 2018, which is both win the Community Shield and the Premier League in the same season.
Okay.
So the team that did that last time in 2018 was, of course, Manchester City, who beat Chelsea 2-0 in the curtain opener of the season. So your challenge tonight, Burkbot, is to successfully predict that Manchester City team, peak Guardiola, some might say, that started that game against Chelsea and beat them 2-0. So see that you're playing on your own. Obviously, you'll get to pick the formation and the players. And because it was the Community Shield, it was a 6 subs from the team players in front of you. So take your pick
Okay.
is what I would say. So we'll see how many players you get right from the winning starting 11 and then your choice of the substitutes that came on in the game as well.
Right. I'm going to. God, I'm just going through these names now.
Yeah. If
Kevin
it's
De
any consolation, by the
Bruyne.
way, do you know who the Chelsea manager was in 2018?
Mourinho?
No, it was actually Maurizio Sarri. Would you believe?
Jesus.
That dated like that was only 8 years ago. So
Right, I'm gonna go De Bruyne.
Kevin De Bruyne, Grant. So usually plays in attack midfield, but if you want to put him anywhere in particular, let me know.
Yeah, in the 10.
In the 10, yep. Okay. So Kevin De Bruyne in first off.
Kyle Walker,
Kyle Walker.
right back.
The very soft Kyle Walker, again based off that documentary.
um, Ederson in goal.
There's some Moraes in goal.
Are these all correct then, or no? You're going to do the
I
11
once
and then you're going to
once you
tell
have
me.
once you have the full selection, I will flash up which ones are right.
Um, Gundogan was there, left, and came back. Was he there then? Let's go. Yes, at the base of midfield there, number 6.
Okay.
Um, Laporte and Company centre back pair.
Okay.
Uh, Left back. Phew. Um, Shinchenko.
Alexander Zinchenko.
Um,
That's your back line sorted. So now it's just the front
this
line.
is some backline to be fair.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so we've got a 4, a diamond, and then we got Aguero
You
up
going with
top,
Aguero?
or was it Jesus?
Hmm.
I'm gonna say Jesus started that.
Okay. Jesus up front.
Uh, on the um, right, I'm gonna go with this is difficult.
Hmm.
Fernandino on the left.
On the left here in the midfield, you mean? Or
Yeah.
okay. Yep.
And David Silva.
David Silva. Yeah. Okay. So that's the midfield packed in then. So then it's just whoever was partnering up with Gabriel Jesus then for the last spot.
Sane.
Leroy Sané. All right then.
No, no, swapping out Sterling.
Sterling. Raheem Sterling. Okay then. And right then. So then all I need from you then is your substitutes. So it
Oh,
was it was six
did you use
players.
the full 6?
Well, if you can pick 3 from the 6, I think that'd be fair enough then.
All right, I think
Pardon me.
Aguero, Sane, and Mendy.
Benjamin Mendy. Okay then. Right, so those are your picks then. So anything that flashes up yellow is the correct answer.
Okay. Dun dun dun. None. Oh, okay. One, two.
Sure. Okay. Because of course there are two silvers in the team, so I was just double checking.
Oh, the suspense.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, what? What?
Yeah, so I'm gonna flash these as half points. So uh right then. Yeah. Actually, no, I knew I was missing one. Yeah, Fernandinho, correct. So, okay, so let's rejig the team here then. So you got three and a few half marks there with this one. So Ederson was not the starting goalkeeper, unfortunately. It was in fact Claudio Bravo who started this game.
Wow.
Again, this is after he was an absolute shit show as well. So I think Ederson was only just in the team at this point, or maybe he was a year
Hey,
in
wow. This is
to his
yeah,
era.
okay.
Yeah. So it was actually Vincent Company wasn't was actually a substitute in this
Okay.
game. He came on later and he replaced John Stones, who started the game alongside Aymeric Laporte. Zinchenko was not in the squad at all for the Community Shield. So it was actually Benjamin Mendy who played in the game, unfortunately.
Oh,
Um, so if I rejig the midfield a little bit, it might start looking a bit clearer. So Fernandinho did play. He was in the pocket of the midfield. It was not David Silva who played. It was actually Bernardo Silva who played in the midfield.
okay.
And alongside him was Phil Foden.
Oh, he must have been a wee
He
baby.
was, I think this is one of his first outings, hence why he was kind of playing in that kind of. He kind of played in the De Bruyne role in a way,
Right. Okay.
kind of an advanced number 10 role. And Bernardo was the kind of the engine room. So if I kind of did it stepwise like that, it would kind of make sense. Um, Raheem Sterling was not in the squad at all for this match, possibly injured. Gabriel Jesus was a sub for this game. It was actually a front three of Leroy Sané, Sergio Aguero, who scored both goals in the game, and Riyad Mahrez, who was on
Wow.
the
I
right
didn't
hand
think he was
flank.
there back then.
Yeah, there you go now. If it's any, so in terms of the other players that were involved, Company, as I said, was a substitute in that. Gabriel Jesus was one as well. Um, you could have also had Nicholas Otamendi, who came on during the match too. Um, Ilkay Gundogan, who I think you earmarked as well, was a substitute.
Hmm.
And the other two players then that did feature in this game was a young Brahim Diaz when he was still at Manchester City and still declared for Spain. Since then, he is now at Real and Morocco. And also this guy, Claudio Gomez, who I can't remember. I've no
I
idea.
thought that was a football manager generated name, to be honest,
It
which
does
threw me
sound like
off.
it, doesn't he? But yeah, he came through apparently the City Academy, um, and he now plays for Palermo in Serie B. So there you go. In fact, I think
Okay.
this could have been the only game he played for Man City. I think so. There you go. That's a trivia question for anyone who is nerdy enough to know that. So, but yeah,
Okay. But look, I did terrible, but yeah.
it's a,
But
it's a taking part that counts, isn't that it?
yeah,
So
I
there you
had
go.
fun guessing.
Exactly. And we had very much fun guessing to make this a seamless transition about our actual season predictions. So we did this last year. We called it the spreadsheet of doom, and it's going to be called that again because we have even more people that's thrown in their names into the hat here for our
We are
spreadsheet.
growing as a podcast. We are growing as a fandom. Let's
And we're
keep that going.
definitely not growing as people.
No, no. And you can tell by our predictions we are getting worse.
Oh, 100%, yes. I will say there's actually quite a nice bit of synergy amongst the predictions, but I think what I'll do is I will share
Me.
I well, let's see. Because Burtbot, you are going to be the first person to actually see these predictions in full. The group chat's going to have to wait until after this recording to see what we all think of.
Their
But
fault for not logging in.
exactly. See, you understand this. So yeah, here we go. This is so we're not I'm gonna be doing this kind of piecemeal on the actual video because I want to kind of there's a few things I want to hone in on. So we're gonna do this stepwise.
Okay.
So what we have here is I have basically predictions set out from it's like a kind of collection of the journos kind of picks. So I've done a mixture of the Guardian, the Athletic, and a few other kind of sources as well to make a kind of an average kind of league table of what the smart people reckon is going to happen. And we also have a couple of bonus picks as well that we always do every year. And then I've also asked very amicably what ChatGPT thinks is going to happen this season as well,
Right.
as our kind of Skynet option as well. And thankfully, a lot of us did beat the AI this year. I think as our two controls, we actually beat the journals and Skynet quite well last year. I believe it was between me and Aaron, I think, for the official total in the end, if I remember correctly. I think I might have won out by a hair. But we have more people involved this year around. Casey and Jordan have thrown in their picks into the loop as well. So I'm going to start off with the relegation battle. First off, so starting off with the journals and Skynet, as I'm calling them. Uh, the journals have all three promoted teams going down in the order of Hull 20th, Ipswich 19th, and Coventry 18th. And Skynet has it the opposite way, where Ipswich are the best of the three, Hull City 19th, and Coventry bottom, which they will be by the end of the match tonight, ironically enough. So yes, so that's where they think we're going. That is pretty much consistently the story
Yeah.
amongst all of our predictions. So I've got, I think, I suppose like you, Burkball, have all three promoted teams to go down as well.
Yeah.
That is replicated with myself, with Jordan and Neil, but there are a few outliers. So, KC, for example, thinks Sunderland is going to go down this year.
Okay. Does he think that's going to happen, or as a Newcastle supporter, does he hope that's what's going to happen?
If you refer to Newcastle's league position, I think I think he's balancing his karma out that way. If you see where he has Newcastle,
Oh, yeah, fair, 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 fair.
yeah. He does think that Coventry is going to be the only team that's going to survive this campaign, which is going to be quite interesting. Other team people that have surprising picks. Aaron thinks Nottingham Forest is going to go down this year, and specifically going to be beaten by Ipswich, no less, in that relegation scrap. So Coventry is the only team he thinks is going to survive the Premier League this year.
Okay.
Which I think is again with Nottingham Forest, who fucking knows? They're such a volatile team. Anything could go right or wrong at any time. Um, Kira has two current Premier League outfits down for relegation, which is Sunderland and Leeds. So there's a common thread there about potentially the Europa League causing hardship for a promoted outfit in
Yeah.
Sunderland. So that is a possibility there. Dave, on the other hand, has gone for three Premier League outfits to get relegated in Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace, and Fulham.
Okay, I'm gonna say Crystal Palace because they're gonna be overstretched. I can see the logic there.
Mm,
Fulham because I don't know, people have forgotten about them. Maybe,
that is
maybe.
their greatest skill, to be fair.
And then who was the third one there?
Nottingham Forest.
Nottingham Forest, just because their owner's probably going to literally sink them like a ship. Maybe,
Yeah.
like there is a logic to each of those three.
Mm.
Um. So yeah, I don't hate that idea. So fair play, Dave, for being brave.
He has been very brave, and he will continue to get braver as we go up the league. Tune in a few minutes to find out what I'm talking about. Um, I'll do the league stages in sections here. So I'm gonna go with the ones that are in the kind of proverbial relegation scrap. So from 14th downwards. So let's start with the journals. So the journals reckon the relegation scrap will consist of Fulham, Sunderland, Crystal Palace, and Everton. So that's from 17th up to 14th. Skynet do think that Sunderland are going to suffer because of the Europa League. They have them down as 17th. Leeds are in the scrap as well, which I think is probably expected. Bournemouth, again, another team that's wrestling with a new coach and European football. And then Fulham, who don't have European commitments to worry about. So again, I think anything in this part of the table is quite hard to pick out because of how kind of congested
Yeah,
it is, you know.
yeah.
And I suppose let's pick out some interesting ones there. So Burpa, you went with Everton to stay up by the skin of their teeth in 17th. So what had you thinking that initially in terms of in
Just
terms
my
of their.
inability to think to figure out what they're going to be like. Are they going to be very good? Are they not going to be very good? I
Mm,
don't know. As I was going through my list, I they were ending up further and further down the table because I just couldn't predict. Now, I could also have put them eighth. I could have
mm.
also put them seventh, but I just don't know. So there they are, languishing down the bottom, skin of their teeth in it.
Yep, that's fair enough. So you had them then. So then you had Fulham 16th, Newcastle 15th, and Leeds 14th. So you think like some of them are going to be relatively safe. If going for my predictions, my pick, I have Coventry down to 17th. I think they're just about to go on to survive. Again, I think home form is a big thing in the Premier League, and I think they were just going to have enough home wins to get through this season. Whether that's with Lampard or not, I think will remain to be seen. Sunderland, I think are going to be okay. Again, they are going to drop compared to the league position, and I think that Europe is going to be a contributing factor to that. A lot of us do have Newcastle struggling, and that is a kind of overall theme of things. I have Casey has them down in 17th. I have them down in 15th. Jordan has Newcastle down, surviving on the last day as well. Aaron has them down in 16th, and yourself, Burkwell, obviously has them in 15th. There's only a handful that think that Newcastle are going to be okay this year, and again, that's probably down to the fact that their team has been ravaged. Eddie Howe has left. The Saudi money seems to be drying up a little bit. That drawbridge seems to have kind of pulled up on them, so they're going to have a very interesting year themselves. Yeah, I suppose like there's also I think Dave also has Brentford down in 16, so he doesn't obviously believe in the Keith Andrews prophecy, which is a bit of a shame for him. I think his passport's getting revoked in the afternoon. All going well. Um, so yeah, a kind of variations of a theme there in terms of teams there. So let's go into the mid-table then after that. So I'm gonna go for finishing off the kind of the bottom half of the table there. The journals have Leeds, Bournemouth, and Nottingham Forest relatively safe, if a bit unexceptional. To finish out the bottom half, Crystal Palace, Brentford, and Everton are ChatGPT's picks in that regard. Burpa, you have a surprising omission here as Aston Villa in 13th. Now, this is a late switch based off Villa selling Konsa and Watkins at time of recording. So,
Yeah,
are you happy to stand by 13th there, or do you think
yeah,
that's going to
yeah.
be a bit
I don't
vindicated?
know. Like, yeah, I maybe 13th isn't low enough. Uh, just in terms of like their team has been absolutely ravaged, and I
Mm,
don't think they've made enough of recruitment. As things stand, I don't even hear of them being linked to anyone to try and replace the likes of Watkins leaving
yeah.
and Hansa going. So, like, it was basically this today, as we're time of recording, Konza has signed for Arsenal,
Mm,
uh, and the Watkins link to Saudi is it has emerged as a very strong contender of what's happening next with him. And with
mm,
that, there's no way they're two of the most consistent players for Aston Villa last season.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I just think that's like. Yeah, I think 13th. I'm actually kind of happy. They were, I think, switched with Chelsea because, again, this Chelsea was kind of where I was kind of going, oh, are they going to be shit because they can't gel, or are they going to be unreal because of the talent in that pool?
Yeah.
And I had them down there as being shit, but then when Aston Villa did that, I went, nah, let's just swap them.
Yeah, there is a swap happened, and I challenge our viewers to figure out which teams have been swapped. There might be a glaring giveaway around sixth place in Burkbot's list. So I guess Villa seem to be struggling in your end. You also have Spurs down as 12th, which is the lowest we have on our list. Would you believe between all of our picks?
I mean, they're gonna hope that any transfer business that they've done will be better than last year.
Yeah.
Um, so they're gonna be out to be better than last year, but that's such a
Mm.
low bar. I don't think they're gonna surpass it that much.
Yeah, yeah, that's a fair point. I think again, I do I think Tottenham are I think this is the year that Tottenham do kind of normalize, but I don't think they're gonna like pull up trees or anything
Yeah,
like that. I think they're just gonna do enough.
that's That's kind of what I'm seeing is that they're going to bed in these new signings,
Mm,
try and learn how to play the sport,
yes.
and then maybe by next year they'll be good at it. But
Yep, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I think Jordan has Spurs down in the 11th as well,
okay,
which is again probably the second lowest. Again, we're all a little bit predictable when it comes to the top half of the field, except for a few exceptions. But nevertheless, here is how the top 10 looks for everybody. So, um, I'll go. I'll start. I'll go from the 10th to the Europa League spots. I think that's a nice way of doing it. So, starting off, we have the Journos picks, which consist of Brentford 10th, Newcastle in ninth, Brighton in the Conference League spot where they are now, Villa and Spurs as the Europa League teams. ChatGPT thinks Brighton are going to finish 10th, Nottingham Forest in ninth, Spurs as the Conference League team, and Villa and Newcastle as the Europa League teams. ChatGPT is overwhelmingly the most optimistic about Newcastle's chances this year, which I don't know if that's a detriment to AI or not. We may be proven right or wrong in the summer, and at which point we might have to like kneel to the AI overlords, but we shall see. Um, but yeah, so they seem to be the most optimistic about their chances. Uh, Going across the way, so Aaron's top 10 because it's a Fulham in 10th, Sunderland in 9th, Brighton in the Conference League spot, Chelsea and Spurs as your Europa League picks. Burkbot, you have Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth, Brighton, Brentford, Crystal Palace. So Crystal Palace are going to be one step away from Champions League football, and you think Keith Andrews is going to make it to Europe and presumably terrify everyone with his massive hair.
oh yeah, well, I'm genuinely confident enough about Brentford.
Mm,
I think solid backline, workhorse midfield, and a striker who was in fantastic form last season. Keep that going. Happy days.
and it's officially the Irish club in the league as well.
Yes, obviously
Mm.
it makes a difference. There's a bit of bias there, of course, but the Palace thing may have been a late swap and may have not had my full concentration going into this. But you know what? Go Eagles.
Yeah, why not? Like again, we've all been very negative at the teams that are going to be in Europe, this season. But I think your scenario is actually quite a nice one. What happens if Palace is really shit in Europe this year and they just focus on the league? Because that can happen as well. Like we're all assuming that the English teams are going to be too good in Europe for their own good, and they're going to struggle domestically. Why not the other way around, where Palace just say "fuck Europe," full Brexit, and go six again, and end up in the Europe one more time? That could work. Um, for Kira's picks here, so Kira has gone for Fulham in 10th, Palace just to miss out in Europe, Bournemouth to make it to the Conference League, Brentford also agreeing with you in that they're going to finish seventh, and Aston Villa as a sixth place team, hopefully kind of riding out those proverbial bumps there. Um, Dave, sticking with his mental predictions, thinks Coventry City is going to be 10th. Just beaten by Newcastle, Spurs in the Conference League, Villa and Liverpool as the Europa League teams, which is the lowest pick we have for Liverpool across the board. Um,
Ooh,
so that
that
is,
is.
yeah, that's quite surprising there. KC has Palace and Brentford missing out on Europe. Leeds as the Conference League team, which I would be actually kind of okay in seeing, to be honest. And, there's a nice bit of nostalgia there in seeing Leeds in Europe. Spurs and Villa as the Europa League team. So that's, I suppose, like that's probably not to be surprising in a sense, but I think seeing Leeds do well is quite nice. And again, from what I can see across the board, is the highest we have anyone for a Leeds United finish. So good on them. My picks consist of Brentford in 10th, Everton in ninth, which I believe is the highest we have for Everton. So I'm the most optimistic on their chances. Spurs getting back into Europe for the Conference League, and I have Nottingham Forest finishing in seventh ahead of behind Aston Villa. Uh,
Interesting.
yes, so
Well,
I'm
that's
also the most
not
optimistic on Forest's
important,
chances.
and yet some people are predicting they're going to get relegated. It is. It is this the most unpredictable season?
It is unpredictable in the sense where like it's so hard to pick form in this sort of league now because match just can happen. Like we had this last season with West Ham, where like actually with Spurs in a sense, where like you think like the ship is going steady under Thomas Frank, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And like anyone that's kind of reading the tea leaves will probably tell you that like Thomas Frank and Spurs are a match made in hell. But they've had that before, where you think it's going to work and then it just doesn't, or vice versa. Like it's a like odd couple situation, and it just ends up clicking. So I decided to err on the side of Nottingham Forest taking advantage of all their mid-table rivals all being distracted by Europe. And realistically, they have one of the best coaches in the league in Oliver Glasner. Glasner's issue last season was that he was hamstrung by Palace selling all their players. Nottingham Forest don't have that problem this year.
Yeah,
Like Elliot Anderson is the only person that has been sold this season, and like realistically, they've already kind of replaced him, to a certain degree, with Schlager, who was the Swiss, or was he Austrian, I think, uh, midfielder who did quite well in Europe, for Red Bull Salzburg. So I think he's going to be the kind of biggest kind of. I think he's a bit of a sleeper signing for Nottingham Forest. It's the type of manager, player that you don't realize is signed for them until you see him like tug out for him. They also signed an unbelievable centre back in Osman Diomande, who, quite frankly, is Champions League quality. And anyone who watched them in Sporting will tell you that. So, for what it's worth, I still think they've got business to go. I think they probably will get another midfielder, and I presume it's going to be Bergvall from Spurs, because they've been looking his way for a while. Um, One thing I don't like about Nottingham Forest is their incessant bullying of Crystal Palace. I just don't know why they keep doing it. They just like picking on them in particular, whether it be kicking them out of Europe or stealing their manager. Like it's a bit of an unhealthy obsession he has, and he just needs to fucking cool his jets. Maybe
yeah.
just find a nice boat of heroin to enjoy himself on. I don't know.
Yeah, no, they are. Again, they could be an entertainment team for. If I wasn't so entertained by Everton and Sunderland, maybe not Forest, but
Mm.
um, yeah, there's not enough brain power to continue supporting or like keeping up to date with all the teams.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it's also because of the World Cup as well. Some of the signings have literally gone under the radar because they were
Yeah.
happened during the World Cup. So that's absolutely fair. Jordan Pickson has Crystal Palace 10th, Fulham ninth. So he's obviously a big advocate for Alvaro Arbeloa, because that is the highest we have for a Fulham finish across the board. Brentford in the Conference League. So that the Irish trifecta of Andrews, Duff, and Rice is getting a lot of love from the predictions here. Chelsea, in seventh, is actually the lowest we have for Chelsea across the board. Would you believe? And then Brighton, in sixth, which is I think the highest across the board for Brighton. So there you go. So it's a little bit of variance there. Neil has gone for Bournemouth and Newcastle to finish in the top 10. Brighton to go back into the Conference League. Villa and Spurs, with to go into the Europa League, which is literally the exact same as the journos. So somebody, Neil, has been reading the Guardian too much, if you don't mind me saying so. Um, so let's talk then about the top five, because this is where we are. This is where it matters. So the journos, and again, this is going by average position, think that it's going to finish Liverpool fifth, Man United fourth, Chelsea third, Man City second, and Arsenal top of the board as champions. This is close to what ChatGPT thinks. Man United are going to finish fifth according to them, Chelsea fourth, Liverpool third, Man City second, and Arsenal first. So we're going to go across the board here. We're going to leave myself and yourself last, Burkwell. So Aaron's top five consists of Villa in the Champions League in fifth, Liverpool, Man City, Man United as runners up, and then Arsenal as league champions. Kira has Manchester United in fifth, Chelsea fourth, City third, Liverpool in second, and Arsenal champions. Dave has Manchester City in fifth, Sunderland in fourth. People listening will notice we didn't mention Sunderland yet on his list, so he thinks they're going to finish in the Champions League this year. Man United in third, Arsenal second, and Chelsea as Premier League champions. So quite a lot of difference there in his top five compared to everyone else's. Um, Man United is finishing fifth on KC's list, along with their city rivals in fourth, Chelsea third, Liverpool second, and Arsenal as champions there as well. Jordan's won, kind of variations of a theme. Villa in fifth, City fourth, Liverpool third, United as a runners-up, and Arsenal champions. And Neil, quite close to the kind of average. United in fifth, Chelsea fourth, Liverpool third, Manchester City second, and Arsenal first. So his top five matches up with ChatGPT, which suggests that he's been reading ChatGPT too much. Uh, he's just getting fucking rinsed now when he's not here. So then I'll go with my top five then because I think there's a little bit more. It's a little bit duller than yours, I'd say. So I have Man United down to finish fifth. I think City are going to finish fourth as well. Liverpool, I think, are going to be a comfortable third. I think Chelsea are Arsenal's biggest rivals this year for the title. And it is surely totally because Arsenal can be fighting the a battle on four fronts, and Chelsea will focus on the league. In my personal opinion, I don't think Chelsea are going to have a cup run. I think they're literally just going to target the league and hammer it home and see where it goes. So I think it's going to be a bit of a classic in that sense, a bit of nostalgia from the Wenger Mourinho days. So I think that's where it's going to go. But I do think Arsenal will win out anyway because they just have better players in better positions, in my opinion. Burpa, I don't think there's ever been a point where you've picked Arsenal to win the league, and this is no different. So you have Manchester United fifth, you have Chelsea fourth, you have Arsenal in third, which is shocking enough the lowest of the board here. Man City then to finish second, and you have Liverpool to win back the Premier League. So what has you thinking there? Because that is actually quite against the grain, championship wise, than most of our picks here.
Yeah, okay, so gonna go with my tried and tested routine of no hope leads to no heartbreak.
Okay, I see your attitude. It makes sense.
This is
Yeah.
not, there's no logic to this. This is purely how do I avoid getting heartbroken. I do think on paper we have the best team,
Hmm.
but I do think the label of being favourites to win it is too heavy on these players.
Mm.
Um, yeah. Now, in saying that, it's full time here now. It's 3-0 with a very fun performance. That is I've kept an eye on that match with a smile on my face. That is the football I have wanted to see. So this is
Hmm.
fucking hope is coming back. And I'm gonna try and stuff that down with more pessimism, and I'm gonna say that any injury to that team could knock us for six again.
Yeah.
And if we keep we are going to be fighting on all four fronts. I think we have won the league,
Mm.
box tick. The next one on our list has to be Champions League.
Yeah. That's
So
not
I
given.
do think the focus, we might lead, right? We might lead until Christmas, maybe February, and then when the knockouts of the Champions League come in, we drift. And
Mm.
that's where Liverpool will click into gear, where all of their players are on form. They might do something in January to fix whatever. And that's when I think that's why I don't have Arsenal. Like a little bit of kind of obviously self-deprecation there, but for the club. But I'm trying to be as logic and about it as well, logical about
Yeah.
it as I can. But Manchester City, again, I do think we're just going to drop off. I don't
Mm.
think we can sustain the momentum that we had if we're going on all four fronts. And City probably are the club that could, squad wise, match us.
Yeah.
And then that's why I have them pipping us.
Mm.
Um, and then yeah, so you've got Chelsea and United then finishing off the top five. And at that with that kind of what are Chelsea going to be like? I could easily swap Manchester City and Chelsea out in that and
Yeah.
have them because again, it's just the unknown of it all. And then United, I just think they're just going to be there thereabouts. I think they're going to tip along. They're going to take points away from teams, but they're going to drop mad points somewhere because
Mm.
Bruno has an off day and then they can't tick. So yeah, that's trying to explain my thought process on that.
Yeah. To be fair, I think it kind of does demonstrate that the most part that we've all kind of picked the same kind of five teams in a sense, and I think for the most part, I think 2 to 5 is very fluid. Again, the Champions League is just a bit of a kind of yeah, a checkpoint anyway. So finishing third is pretty much the same difference as finishing fourth or fifth. So this is all presuming, of course, that the English teams do well enough in Europe to get that extra spot.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed, obviously. Yeah, that goes without saying. So it will be presumptive to say that they're going to get it each year. But like I said, they do tend to win enough games to kind of clear most countries anyway. But on the assumption that it is always going to be an extra Champions League spot, like that's the kind of like area that I think Man United are just generally with the extra European games. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing because I think a lot of clubs will kind of have their act together compared to last year. Um, Again, I'd love to kind of agree with your sympathy or your optimism for Liverpool. I think a lot of it will depend on how Isaac and Verts get on. Again, based off pre-season, they've all already scored, which is already half the battle. Um, I think staying power is going to be definitely an issue with Liverpool. I think the squad is going to have to get bolstered, and I think there probably will be one or two signings before the window closes. So that will probably help matters, certainly up front anyway, because I think what they just need is options and choices and just different people to jump in and kind of do different jobs. So it certainly could work, but I think it really will depend on Isak and Verts. If they start off the Premier League campaign, if either one of them score, between the two or three first games, I think then that's a good sign for Liverpool for the season. But if they're still struggling for form, if they're looking a bit sluggish or leggy, then that's gonna define how difficult the start of the season is going to be. So, but yeah, it's certainly a good pick anyway. In that respect, and again, hopefully pessimism pays off you in the end, like it did last year. Um, we also do a few little bonus rounds instead of just league positions as well. We do a few things such as the Golden Boot, where everyone has gone for Erling Haaland, including the journals and ChatGPT, except for Kira, who's picked João Pedro, just to be different. So
Yeah.
can't be any harm, just picking someone else for a change. There is a surprising amount of variety in the Golden Glove this year, however. So Burkbot, you have gone for David Raya, as
Yeah.
have I, by the way. We've both gone for David Raya here. So has Kira and Jordan and Neil, and that is also agreed with ChatGPT. Now, for the journals, I've gone with the best odds as opposed to actual journalistic takes, just to be a little bit different. So the Golden
Okay.
Glove favorite, as I've checked, was actually Gianluigi Donnarumma, on this one. We also have a little bit of variety. So Senny Lomans is Aaron's pick for the Golden Glove. Again, probably showing his
Very
bias there.
wide choice. Yeah.
Yeah, Casey has picked Nick Pope, which is an interesting choice because I don't think even he's a Newcastle number one anymore. But I'm sure whoever the Newcastle number one is his pick. And Dave has picked Allison to be the Golden Glove winner this year for Liverpool. So we'll just see how that goes. We also go with managers. So we do like a bit of banter signing. We a bit of a callback to our P45 crew of old. We
Yes.
have also picked who we think is going to get sacked from the league this year, which is very harsh, but it's also very funny. And again, there's a bit of variety in that. So going with what the bookies say, the odds-on favourites is Sergei Yarkovich, the Hull City manager, and that opinion is shared by both Kira and Neil this year. ChatGPT has a very fun one, however. It reckons that Enzo Maresca is going to get sacked
Ooh,
from
that
Manchester
would
City.
be
That would be fun. And it is the only person that is or per thing that has picked Maresca this year for the sack. Aaron and Dave have both picked Matthias Jaisler from who's the new Newcastle boss to be let go. You Burpa have picked Alvaro Arbeloa to lose the Fulham job, which I don't think is that much of a hot take. I think that's very possible. It could go all terribly wrong. So I don't think that's a outside there's a massive outside chance in that one. KC has picked a fun one. He's picked Michael Carrick to get the sack at United, which would certainly ruffle some feathers. Um, and Jordan has also picked Zabi Alonso to get the sack as well because he thinks it would be a very Chelsea thing for them to do, which is totally fair. And we also then go with the opposite side of the coin, which is a manager arrival. So again, the most likely manager to come back according to the bookies is Eddie Howe. He's apparently already the odds-on favourite for the Leeds job, which is fucking weird. Oh, actually, I forgot myself on this. I picked Daniel Farke for the manager sacking for Leeds because again, I have Leeds to go down, so that tracks. So yeah, Eddie Howe is the bookies pick to return to the league. That is shared by both Kira and myself, who both think Eddie Howe is going to come back to the Premier League this year as well. ChatGPT thinks is the only person that wants to see Thomas Frank back in the league, which is interesting. Maybe that speaks to Brentford's data-driven analysis. They may feel a little bit neglected. Both Aaron and Neil both believe that Julian Nagelsmann will enter the Premier League somewhere this year. I assume because Aaron picked Isla that Nagelsmann will be the Newcastle coach. I'm not sure where Neil thinks Nagelsmann's going to drop, so that one's perhaps one to unpick there later on. KC has gone for a good one. He thinks Sean Dyche is going to come back to the league, which I think is actually a very good shout. Because again, nothing says like relegation panic than pressing the Sean Dyche button. Dave has actually gone for Hansi Flick to join the league, which is a bit of an interesting pick as well, considering he's doing well enough at Barca. But again, stranger things have happened, so we never know. I think my favorite pick actually is yours, Burkbot, because you picked Kim Hellberg, the Middlesbrough manager, to join the league. That's a fun one. What had you thinking of Hellberg?
Genuinely, it was just kind of keeping an eye on the championship, and I just think it'd be fun. Genuinely,
he does play
there's
hipster football. In fairness, he does play some mad shit.
that's literally it. There's no real logic to it other than, yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's a good show. So cup winners then. So we did pick a cup winner, whether it be the League Cup or FA Cup. You don't necessarily have to pick both, but I did pick the ones that I think are the most intriguing. So, according to the bookies, Arsenal are down to win either the FA Cup or League Cup. They're the favourites for both. ChatGPT reckons that Man United are going to win a cup this year, and that opinion is shared with Aaron, Jordan, and Neil, who have all picked United to win a cup this year. Other candidates include KC, who have gone for Arsenal. Kira has shared that opinion as well. In fact, KC has Arsenal down for quadruple this year. He also has them down for a Champions League win, which I think would be a bit mental. I have Manchester City down to win a cup this year, whether it be the League Cup, which they tend to do, or the FA Cup. And the only other unusual pick is Dave, who's picked Villa to win a cup this year, domestic cup, considering they've won in Europe, so they might as well have a go at something close to home. And Burpa, you picked Chelsea to lift a cup. I presume an FA Cup or League Cup, depending on the context.
Yeah. It was domestic cup, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And then we end in on the Champions League. So again, the bookies' favorite it's a bit of a pick-up toss-up between PSG and Bayern Munich on their side, but I picked Bayern Munich just to make it interesting. The ChatGPT reckons Real Madrid are going to win the Champions League this year.
I agree with the ChatGPT.
Yes, I wouldn't make a habit of saying that because that means you're one of them. So just funny enough, actually, Bayern Munich does pop up a lot in our predictions for the Champions League here. So Kira, Dave, and myself have all picked Bayern Munich for it. As mentioned before, Casey has gone for Arsenal to win the Champions League. So is Neil. Neil's gone for a Champions League win for the Arsenal as well. PSG are Jordan and Aaron's picks this year. And obviously, Real Madrid is yours, which is obviously you're enjoying a little bit of chaos or drama, hoping that it'll get them across the line back in Madrid.
100%. And like, if anyone's going to be good at the shithousery and letting players just do what they want, it's Mourinho. So
that is totally fair. Yeah. It does sound like something that would happen to Real Madrid. You could have like a generationally disastrous year in the league, but then somehow still win the Champions League. It's something they would do. It's very on brand for them. It's almost like they like being the story or something. It's weird.
You guys.
Yeah. No, this is going to be intriguing. So we'll see who has egg on their face when the end of the season comes. We do have one more prediction to throw in though, and that is to do with some CODs.
Cristiano Ronaldo is a cod. I don't care what it is. I mean, you can't say that. And you seem exceedingly smug about the idea of people, kids particularly.
Yours little. He's the guy who ran away and left his wife for a young one.
Yes, this was going to
Now,
throw us late. Now, I know that you'd sent this out late to the group, so I don't know who has gotten back onto you or not.
so far we've had none, but I think because we're going to have a rotating crew over the year, they can certainly tell us what their CODs are for the year. But so we are doing a COD slightly not differently this year, but we're doing it for this episode. We're going to get basically batter a COD and freeze it for the year and see if we're proven right then at the end of the season. So no one else has got back to us at this moment in time. Everyone's napping or probably purring over the Arsenal result, I presume. So, Burpa, how would you start for yourself then? What is your COD that you're locking away for the year?
Oh, like it was so regularly my COD last year, but I'm going to go with it again. PGOML,
Yeah.
um, but specifically around set pieces and corners
Hmm.
to like give it a bit of variation from last year. I think they're going to be woefully inconsistent with any use of strength in the box. I think there's going to be varying levels of protection given to the keeper depending on who is being the attacking team in question. I do think there's going to be leeway with some keepers with the 8 second rule.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's my prediction. It's just that, or my prediction of a COD that PGO Emerald, I think, are just nailed on to be everyone's COD at some stage during the year,
Hmm.
but specifically in the context of corners and yeah, match situations like that.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Yeah, I think like I will say like after watching because the League of Ireland embraced those new rules there over the summer, like usually from like the 1st of July onwards. So we kind of saw it more in the European qualifiers than in the league. But I will say the new like rules involving the taking the corner, the throw-ins, and basically keeping the ball in play after couple of seconds helps out a good bit to the like actual football being played. You really feel it in the lack of injury time. Like it really
Yeah,
cuts down on that, which I think is great. Um I would also say that like for the most part, a lot of teams do just kind of play along, just play more possession football. So I think it is going to shift that kind of theme of the season from say the set pieces and kind of like setting up for kind of sequences like Arsenal have done. Again, Arsenal like always kind of get the blame for it, but they aren't the biggest offender. It is actually Brentford. It's actually worked to my logic a little bit, so why I think Brentford are going to be met this year. Like they're going to be 10th. I just don't think they're going to advance because I
yeah,
do think they're going to be not found out a little bit, but they're got that their tricks that they used to do are not going to work this time. Like I don't think the long throws are going to work out because there's such a lead into a long throw that you can't do it within the time frame. Or if it is, it's going to be like at the end of the game where it's like everything is massively urgent. Likewise, the goal kicks like stacking up like what you'd normally see towards when a game or when a team are in control. I don't think you're going to see that often. That's going to encourage teams to kind of play out from the back or play into the middle of the pitch again. At least certainly from what I've seen after these rules have been enforced. So it is going to make quite a big of a difference in the ruling of it. I think they are improvements though. That's the thing. Um, but much to that point, whether they shift the goalpost again like they did last year, where they
yeah,
enforced rule changes midway through the season, like that, they need to knock that shit on the head, because like certain teams that favored certain teams in terms of how they did their set pieces and stuff. And again, not to put Arsenal on the parapet here, but like if you stop what Arsenal do with set pieces, it means you have to play a different way. And for me, if they play better football, I think that's a good thing for the league because then you have to beat them on their merits, not if you're better at suplexing somebody or not. That's just my
yeah,
opinion. And I think I think you're kind of reasonably on the same wavelength as well. If
yeah,
I, yeah, so I think
yeah,
like that's yeah. I think that would be nice. My card that I want to batter for the year, and I don't think this is much of a stretch, but Real Madrid are my card for the year.
yeah, yeah, fair.
Holy fuck, like this, I like it is one of those ones where I just genuinely don't know where to start with them. It's absolutely mental. So, um, between the summer of the summer where there's been rows in within the team, so Charmani and Valverde have an absolute scrap, and then still being in the same team. Antonio Rudiger bullying coaching staff and still being at the team. Kylian Mbappe, who is known as the dictator in the Real Madrid circles, and not only has that been proven to be kind of funny, it's also very much a case of like he's actually embraced it as a meme to the extent where he kind of rules the French team with a kind of a soft hand.
Yes.
So then you have all these different things. You have players who are just blatantly hating being there, like Trent Alexander-Arnold. I've never seen such a sadder human being living in Madrid before. Like even lads who were there for a jolly, like Royce and Drenthe, or the other lad I can't remember who played for West Ham at one point. Like they were just there, like almost like not believing their luck that they're playing for Real Madrid. Um, but he just looks miserable. Like he looks like he's made the worst decision of his life living there and staying there. Um, I mean, I can't say I have much sympathy for him to be honest with you. I mean, he was chasing the money; he's after getting it. So what more do you want?
Yeah.
And and then on top of all this, then you have um Florentino Perez in his eternal wisdom bringing Jose Mourinho back into the team, thinking that basically the best way to deal with all these massive egos and massive knobheads in your dressing room is to hire a bigger knobhead. It's just a fucking remarkable turn of events, and it is just gonna end up in tears, in my opinion. Um, like again, not to say like there's just bad things about the team, but like this is this sort of cycle that Mourinho does where he burns out players and betrays them and hates them and loves them and then hates them again. Like it happens faster every cycle, you know? And bear in mind, like this is also a couple of months after that match with Benfica, where uh, the Benfica forward, whose name temporarily escapes me, racially abused Rodrigo. Jose
Oh yeah.
Mourinho kind of bats for him to a certain degree, then has to backpedal very quickly when he realizes it's a genuine fucking complaint, and now he's gonna have to manage Rodrigo, or he's gonna have to manage Vinicius. Like this is insane. Like this is a terrible situation that he put themselves in. Um, and again, not even going for the fact that the team makes absolutely no sense. They have made good signings. In fairness, they brought in the likes of Bernardo Silva and Marco Corella, who I think are good players for them. I think Iber Kanate is going to have a terrible season at Madrid. I think he's going to get found out massively, um, there because he's going to be expected to be good right at the bat, and I don't think that's going to happen. As I said, you still got players there who absolutely fucking hate each other, so I don't know how that's going to work as well. Um, and you know what's even the funny? Actually, you know what's even the funniest thing about Real Madrid is the sheer arrogance of the team, of the club, in a sense, because Florentino Perez obviously wants to sign big players and big personalities because it's Real Madrid. This is what we do. Rabble, rabble, rabble.
Yeah.
I've never seen before over the summer putting them putting out a feeler for like Julian Alvarez and putting a bid in and it gets turned down and they basically go, okay, that's fine. We didn't really want him anyway. We were just testing the market, and they kind of wobble off and then sign Yan Diomande instead. What the funniest thing I saw was they put out a comunicado oficial, as it is called in the trade, and it was them formally announcing that they are not interested in signing Enzo Fernandez. And I thought to myself, if you were Enzo Fernandez and you were back in your flat in Cobham and you're looking at that thinking, dickheads,
Yay.
what the fuck, man? Like that's come right here, man. Like that, why are you singling me out here for? It was just such an unnecessary drive-by on him. The Real Madrid might have just like gone through the entire list of other players they hate. It's just like, see you, bastard. Never liked you, don't like you, don't like you. And these are the players that we have on the contract. Here's the ones we don't like outside of the club. It's
Yeah.
it's just an absolute joke. Like it's one of those ones where I think if you're a television producer, you're licking your lips because now suddenly La Liga is exciting again. Like Barcelona have signed Anthony Gordon, and he could generally be really, really good there, solely because Hansi Flick is a mentalist when it comes to tactics. Real Madrid have got that kind of level of crazy back that you might have expected from like mid 2000s La Liga, where it was almost normalized. But they're going to be so out of place, and it's just not going to work. So you're just watching this Hindenburg collapse in slow motion. All the while, Atletico Madrid are just kind of just being there being little impishly kind of like, plucking teams off left, right, and centre. And even for an Irish angle, we got Real Betis signing Troy Parrott, who generally seem to love him. And by all accounts, and Real Betis have some serious Irish connections as well. So like this is just gonna be fantastic material for us. There's actually probably a reason to watch La Liga again, which I
We
know
haven't
if
had in a good long time.
that's the thing. I do wonder where this is just a little bit of an ulterior motive to say, well, we like you're now watching to see what happens. Hasn't it worked to a certain
Yeah.
degree? So I don't know. Maybe people would kind of agree with that point of view or not. But I simply think it's going to end up in tears, and I quite frankly can't wait for it because anytime Real Madrid have a bad time, I think it's good for football because everyone just enjoys it. It's certainly going to be good for El Chiringuito anyway because they take it as a personal offense when Real Madrid lose a game. So what can be more damaging than that than giving them material? But yeah, that's our end of season preview, lads. Any closing remarks, Bert? What? Anything else you want to throw into the ether before we wrap up?
Um, Looking forward to the WSL starting back. Have to give that a shout out. I think as much as this league is unpredictable in the Premier League, I think it's one of the most unpredictable leagues we've had in years. I actually think the WSL might trump it. There might be less teams in there, and there might be some kind of big teams dropping out of Europe, I think, as a result of some of the changes this year. So,
It's expanded format as well, isn't it? Like it's two new teams coming up as well, so it's yeah, so it's going to be a curious one, isn't it? How well have you dealt with seeing Kate McCabe in blue
let's not talk about it.
until we do our WSL preview? Yeah,
Yeah, I'll hold my judgment until then.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay then. Right. So until then, lads, we'll leave it here on this episode of the Liquid Football Podcast. Burpal, thank you very much again for jumping on for this episode
Yeah, no
and
worries.
bringing
Good
us through
to
to the
have the chats
yeah.
and good to get the season underway with a very convincing win.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah, you can't say fairer than that. So until then, we'll see you on the next episode of the Liquid Football Podcast. By all means, subscribe to us here on YouTube. Follow the podcast on YouTube Music while you're here, and you'll be updated then when the next one drops. We normally every 2 weeks, so the next one will probably be a transfer deadline day special. Actually, going by how the time works, so we'll be reviewing everyone's business, seeing if it works, giving them grades, all that good generic stuff that all YouTube channels do. But by all means, keep an eye on our YouTube channel for all of our other bells and whistles. Myself and Burtbot do playthroughs on the channel all the time. So if you're into your games, you'll see what we're playing at the moment is The Sayings of Blake Manor, which is an all Irish folk horror game by all accounts. So by all means, jump in for that and watch us click the thing. If you are that way inclined, join us on our Madness Discord, which you'll find a link in the description below, and you'll be able to keep up with all the updates from this and all the other stuff that we do on the channel as well. By all means, join us there, and you'll keep up to date with everything we're doing. But for now, lads, thank you very much for jumping on for this episode, because all of that was Liquid Football.